there were 5 of us wearing masks on the floor of the dark building. I have a ratchet in one hand and a walkie-talkie in the other, with a voice in my lookout telling me where the security guard is. Before I go back and give some context, I want you to know that I began with this story because I believe we can all relate to this exact situation from our senior year of college. On the off chance that some of you can't relate, maybe we can all share some common ground in the taking of showers. Have you ever had a shower thought that you were convinced could change the world? Or have you ever had an idea that you thought could be the next big thing, but you just didn't know how to make it happen? If so, you're not alone. Most of us have those ideas that pop in our heads from time to time, but turning them into reality can be a daunting task. So how can we take our creative shower thought and turn it into something tangible and worthwhile? We're all creative beings, even those of you who don't think of yourselves as creative. The hard part about creativity is learning how to implement your ideas. Okay, now we can go back and I'll tell you how I got into that situation. In college, I loved having fun and creating events where other people would have fun. And I didn't mind the attention. So one day, my friend Will Reeves told me he was going to come visit me in Florida and wanted to do a prank. We thought long and hard about the perfect prank that everybody in the college could experience. And if you search for school pranks on YouTube, you'll see a lot of silly pranks, lacking creativity, usually targeting one person. But we didn't want to target just one person. We wanted to target everybody. And it needed to be something original and creative. With these parameters in place, it was easier to determine where, when, and what should happen. We realized that the only place that everybody would be at the same time was during our daily announcements. And what they all had in common is that they'd all be sitting in seats. So we decided to unfasten most of the bolts at varying degrees. This way, when someone would sit down and moved around enough, there would eventually be a loud thud. And when people would look to see what had happened, they would see the person on their cushion on the ground. Now, this isn't your normal rowdy college. It's a small, strict, private, conservative Christian school that has curfew at 11 and security patrolling all night. It's not really the place for tomfoolery, which in my mind made this prank even more necessary. Over the next couple of weeks, I started meticulously planning every step. My research was extremely intensive, including how to pull this off without getting caught by any passerby or the security guards, avoiding the cameras, who the best crew would be, the routes, and everything down to emailing minute-by-minute itineraries to my crew's non-school email addresses. You know, just the basic things that any college student plans out for a small school prank. A prank like this requires a lot of dedication that manifested itself in weird ways like sitting in my seat in chapel, pulling out different sized sockets, and testing them on the bolts without anybody seeing. One problem that we face is that the chapel sits in the middle of the Florida College campus with a large window on both sides and a window on each door. But I realized that covering them with black trash bags wouldn't be a problem since they're usually blacked out for school plays. So we covered them with no problem, except on one side, there was a college couple in their car the entire hour we were unbolting. Not sure what they were doing, but since they were there, we just had to stay low the entire time. The plan went off without a hitch, and the next day in chapel, the seats fell, and nobody had any proof who had done it. But based on prior experiences, the dean asked if it was me. So I sat there thinking about all the hard work that had gone into this, the perfect execution from the team, the hours and hours of planning every detail not to get caught, and I'm faced with this question. He doesn't have proof, just an assumption, and there's no telling what trouble I might get in. And by admitting to this, all my hard work would be for nothing. But I had to face every clever rebel's worst enemy, the conscience. So I couldn't lie, and I told him it was me. He said that based on how long it took the maintenance workers to put it back together, I would have a $500 fine. But if I told him who the other people were, he would discount the fine 50% and distribute it between the 5 of us so it would only be $50 each. But due to crew loyalty and not wanting to taint their reputations, I wouldn't tell him who they were. As I was walking back to my room, I saw my friend Daniel Gerber and told him how much I had to pay. And he jokingly said, "You should start a GoFundMe." But I thought that was actually a brilliant idea. So I sat down next to him, created the GoFundMe. In less than 24 hours between the GoFundMe and Venmo, I made $561 because people wanted to be a part of this wild event. Since creativity is an abstract concept, it's hard to quantify and replicate. And that's exactly where the prank formula comes in. And now that I've given you an example of creativity being used in action, the various parts of my story can be a basis to analyze and understand how to take creativity from being a vague idea to a successful reality. The 5 parts of the formula are purpose, remarkable idea, audience, network, and killer planning, which conveniently spells out prank. First, purpose. Why do you want to turn your sour thought into a reality? What purpose will it serve? What will you get out of it? Are you trying to stand out in a sea of job applicants? Trying to get more visibility for your business? Or are you trying to make learning a more enjoyable experience for your class? You only need one simple reason, but without it, there's no point in going through all the trouble. In the case of my prank, it was simply to have a good time with my friend that was visiting and to make everybody in the school laugh. Remarkable idea. We want people to share this with their friends and family. Everyone on social media, word of mouth. This is the type of exposure that's most trusted by people seeing it because it's shared with them directly by people they trust. And this is exactly why I was able to raise over $500 for a dumb school prank. People were happy to share it with their friends, helping me get the word out because it was something worth making a remark about. And conveniently, the definition of remarkable is worth making a remark about. And if you break the word down into the 2 components, remark and able, it makes sense that your idea needs to be remarkable. Audience. Who do you want to reach? Potential boss? Ideal customer? Potential romantic partner? Understanding your audience is crucial in making sure it's something they'll enjoy and want to be a part of. Going through all the effort of unfastening the bolts and risking the potential consequences wouldn't have been worth it if we didn't know what would entertain our audience. So who's your audience and how do you want them to feel? Focusing on how they'll feel plays directly into what makes this a remarkable idea. Neuroscientists at Johns Hopkins have shown through a study on memories that emotionally charged events are much more important to our brains and memorable than ones that evoke no emotion. Network. I can't express to you enough how important it is to have a trustworthy team. Through your second set of eyes to make sure you're not missing any plot holes, like the 45-year-old man in 1995 who was trying to rob a bank after realizing that lemons can be used to make invisible ink. He thought he could get away with robbery by covering his face in lemon juice, believing it would make his face invisible. In addition to being trustworthy, each team member plays a crucial role in making sure the whole performance goes off without a hitch. Will, evil genius. Alora, group mom. Tyler, hard worker. JP, class clown. Reese, selfie captain. Daniel, lookout. Most importantly, they were all trustworthy. If you can't trust your team, you can't trust that your plan is going to work. Killer planning. I went to my whiteboard to capture all my ideas, including the map, the routes, who I was considering for my team, potential threats and obstacles, and the timeline. Having a large dashboard of some sort where we can see how all the components come together makes any campaign much smoother. And getting your ideas out of your head and onto a medium where you can show other people forces you to make it make sense. Now, you may be hesitant to use structure when it comes to creative ideas, but keep in mind that restraints breed more creativity than total freedom ever will. This really hit home with me when my chorus group took a trip to Hawaii sophomore year of high school. Before we left on the trip, to keep us from doing anything dumb, our chorus director told us he would put a piece of tape on our doors at night, so if we left the room, he'd know and we'd get in trouble. So, of course, as soon as he said that, I started designing different gadgets I could slip through the door to put the tape back on. But when we got to the hotel, I saw the airtight seal around the door and realized my gadgets were worthless. There was a big group of homeless people I got to spend a lot of my free time with and learn their stories, and we quickly became friends. So later that night, as I was laying in bed, I thought of the perfect solution for the tape, a win-win for me and one of my new friends. So my roommates and I left the hotel room post-taping time and explored Hawaii. When we got back, I asked one of my new friends if I could pay him to put the tape back on the door. He agreed, and we went back up the elevator, this time with our friend, and we walked down the hallway, but before we got to the door, the other elevator opened with one of the workers and the hotel manager. They asked our friend what he was doing in there, and so I had to explain the whole situation to him and my idea. What I didn't know was that our friend was banned from the hotel premises, but luckily the hotel manager appreciated the humor and creativity of the situation, so he let us all go on about our lives. So let's not think of this formula and these frameworks as hindering our creativity, but as valuable assets. If the door had been built with an air gap instead of being over-engineered, I'd have never been forced to come up with the idea of hiring our friend. So you have the implementation formula, but what if you haven't taken enough showers yet for inspiration to strike? I can help you with the inspiration part. Inspiration isn't something that we need to sit back and hope for. We have different frameworks we can use to make it happen on demand. These prompts will help prime the creative gears for your remarkable idea and scratch that creative itch. And wow, how about that? The names of these frameworks come together to spell itch. Identity, tool, caricature, and hands-on. Along with each of these prompts, I'll give you an example of how they work in action. Identity. This framework is put into place by taking a characteristic of your company, a company you want to get noticed by, or your ideal audience, and highlighting that in a remarkable way. For example, when I was wanting to get the attention of marketing legend Russell Brunson, I built a 6-foot funnel and a 3-foot computer mouse, put my contact information on it like it was a business card, and snuck it into a conference where he and Tony Robbins were speaking. What's something easily recognizable about your audience that unites them in some way? Tool. Discover something that your target audience is missing. When I heard that one of my favorite podcasters, Jordan Harbinger, was going to be speaking at a conference in Orlando, I started doing research online to see what I could do for him because I wanted to meet him. I noticed he didn't really have a logo, so I decided to design one for him. Since he's known for networking and podcasting, the logo centered around those ideas. And inspired by Deborah Gordon's TED Talk on how ants are expert networkers, the logo featured headphones on an ant. Then I decided to build him a giant physical model of it because anybody can make a logo online, but how many people build statues out of logos? Look for opportunities to add value, and it'll make a lasting impression. Caricature. Take something that your audience understands and make something unexpected and funny from it. This is a comedy style called misinterpretation, which has been popularized by some YouTubers that I've been inspired by called vlog creations. We all love the Super Bowl ads, and over 2 million people search for them each year on YouTube. So in the spirit of misinterpretation, I decided to play off of that by building an 8-foot toilet, aka Super Bowl, putting ads on it, and making a YouTube video about it just before the Super Bowl. What's something that your audience understands that you can misinterpret to get them talking? Hands-on. Engaging all of your audience's senses is a great way to be remembered. Before I made my Guinness World Record attempt where I was launching lemons out of a slingshot, I built a vending machine and put it in downtown Tampa and got inside of it so when people would press the button, my hand would pop out with a bag, giving them a lemon and a brochure with information about the world record. The lemon served the purpose of branding, but more importantly, it served to engage every single one of the 5 senses. People saw the vending machine, touched the button with their hand, heard the sound of the button dinging, smelled the lemon, and the more daring ones even ate the lemon like it was an orange. So all you have to remember is that when you've scratched your itch, you're ready to prank. You can go home today and use these prompts to evoke a shower thought that gets noticed. Start looking at situations in life that seem normal and make something unexpected and funny from it. Subverting people's expectations. You no longer have a blank piece of paper. You have different structures that your unique story will flesh out to produce a remarkable idea. And while you're discovering what this is for you, keep in mind what Jesse Cole said. If you're not scared, maybe you're not trying something big enough. Limitations create a sort of roadblock that forces us to either fail or figure it out. Creativity is a muscle that we can build over time. Treat these 4 prompts the same way that you would exercises in the gym. When you're working out, you don't just mindlessly throw around weights. You have different exercises you do to make you stronger over time, capable of doing more unique workouts. Practice your creative ideas using these frameworks, and it'll build your creativity muscles and make you more innovative than you ever thought possible. By doing this, you'll be able to turn that next roadblock in life into a ladder to reach success. And when you're discovering and building this for yourself, keep in mind that combining these skills is much more powerful. Just like the wax on, wax off in the Karate Kid, Daniel's moves were powerful on their own, but when combined, he was unstoppable. We are all fully capable of taking these frameworks and using them to evoke our creativity and implement it in a way that people will remember.